It's great to be in this space. Let's rock and roll. Let's make this happen. Even if it's my salad that's behind me. How are you all doing? It's so good to see you. Don't ask, don't ask. But listen, yes, I know that I'm living a healthy lifestyle, right? But why the salad behind me? Listen, babies, let me tell you, let's go into the kitchen. Let's go into the kitchen because that works better. All right, there we are. How are you all doing? So good to see you. I had to rush in to get this done. Let's talk about what's going on with our healthcare workers and some of the things that's been happening, right? We talk about health, wellness, and the personal development. But guys, there's just so much going on, so much going on that we need to talk about. So that's what happening. And thank you guys. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for the super chats. I was just like $2 short. $2, not one, $2 short, but it's all good. It's it's just great. I enjoy doing these lives. I enjoy talking about healthcare workers because as you can see, I am a healthcare worker and been in the healthcare field for quite a while, a couple of decades. And things do happen. So there's only so much that I can say. But there are things that are happening. There are things that are happening in healthcare right here in the United States, and I guess different parts of the world, but I'm in the United States, so I can talk about that and how that has been affecting us and even you. Yes, you, the recipient of healthcare, and those who are working. So whether it's in the social services or whether it's in the like I said, healthcare, social services, and education, and of course IT, all of that stuff. But those are the ones that I think who are really affected by how we are showing up and how things are affecting us as a healthcare worker or a recipient of healthcare. And you do need to be concerned about it. Some people say, well, I don't have to. Yes, you do need to be concerned about healthcare because it affects you. Absolutely. Thanks for the thumbs up. Healthcare does affect you and your loved ones. And if you don't think now, well, I'm going to stay healthy so I can stay out of the hospitals, or I can stay out of the clinics, or I can stay home and be safe, holistic, in whichever way, sooner or later, you or somebody you love will be somewhat in the healthcare system. And it's a cause for concern. One of the things that I'm going to talk about at the time of this recording, there's a particular case, as much that I know, I could say alleged, but there's just so much going on with that. And it's just not to point fingers at any one person. It's just to talk about what's been happening. And when they talk about some of the things, I did a video before, and I think I'll tag that video with this. It was an actual video, not a live. I started talking about how healthcare is in trouble and why you should be concerned. And that is so true. It continues. It's not over, guys. It continues. And some of the things in healthcare we'll say there's understaffing. There's not enough staff. That's one of the things. Also, they may not be, they're telling you that there's not enough funds to take care of the patients themselves, or maybe the patients themselves may not have enough money, whether it's Medicaid, Medicare, whichever one, to take care of them, insurance and so forth. So these are some of the things that people, like I said, they don't want to talk about it until it happens to them. So maybe you bump into somebody else who makes it more exciting. I don't know. But for you on the replay, I really appreciate you and thank you for that. Oops, I got things falling. I am falling. And so when we talk about understaffing, in this particular case, it seemed that there was a CNA, a certified nursing assistant, that was supporting a patient. She was helping a patient back to bed. And she was using a Hoyer lift. It's a lift that you can put them in like a little swing. It seems like it's a swing, like a hammock kind of thing. And you put, you can turn it, wheel it and turn it to put the patient back in bed. Or usually we would lift the patient up, especially if the patient is bedridden, so you could make the beds underneath. And so this particular CNA, and like I said, it's not to point fingers at her. It was not something that she was intentional about. And I'm sure she feels, oh my gosh, because based upon the case, you guys can go and Google it. I think it may be in Louisiana where. And she was able to use this Hoyer lift. She lifted the patient, and it so happened that, green tea, it so happened that I don't know if it broke or whatever malfunction or something was not attached. It fell. And the patient fell. Thank you. The patient fell. Can I get some honey? Just a tip of honey with a spoon. Thank you. And a napkin. The patient fell. And it seemed the patient fell and supposed to maybe a blunt trauma to the head. And that was it. She did not make it. He or she did not make it. And so when we look at those things, it saddens us, all of us in healthcare, because we don't know the situation. I don't know the situation. I'm not clear what happened, why she chose to do that on her own. And when that happened, yes, thank you. That's it. And when that happened, it seems as if, they went back to policies and procedures. Well, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to do this? It states here, maybe 2 people are supposed to do this, or whatever they were able to use in court of law. It came back to nip her in the bud. And that's the thing. That's the sad part of it. I mentioned before, sometimes there's understaffing. Sometimes these things do happen, right? Who do you blame? I'm not here to blame anyone. I'm just saying these things do happen. So if you are someone or someone you love, sooner or later you will need health care. And I'm saying this because you will need to be concerned about it. Because if there's not enough support or help, how are you going to get the care that you need or that you know? So there's a cause for concern for it. Could it be, was it that they didn't have enough funds? These things do happen. Could it be that there was not enough money, or was staffing, like we said, could be an issue? Is there a budget issue? All sorts of things. And I'm not here to point fingers once again, but I'm saying we need to be really concerned in how it affects us. We've been talking about, healthcare workers, and yes, all of those things. And to me, it was rather shocking what happened. The court case in this particular case, a certified nurse and assistant seemed to have been charged. Don't know the full scope of it. Was it negligence or whatever, or however it happened? Because, they'll have the legal terms for it. And it's sad. I'm saddened by it because, yes, a life was lost. But who knows, she might have been doing this out of the goodness of her heart, at least thinking that she's doing something that could have really helped this patient. So, that's the little part I wanted to bring up. Another thing is the shortage. There's a shortage of nurses. It's just a shortage of, I would say, it would be a shortage of, it's just nurses who are choosing not to work. Hey, Kani. It's just a nurses who are not choosing to work at this time because they will say it's burnout. Burnout is huge. A lot of people are reeling from, okay? You're on the road to work. What kind of work do you do if you're able to answer? And I want people to be safe, especially my healthcare workers out there, because things are happening. And, I'm not a bearer of bad news, but I just want us to be clear on what people are doing. It's 05:06 a.m. in the morning. Wow. Okay, be safe. And it's a lot are happening. People have to get to work. They have to take care of their families. They got to put food on the table, keep a roof over their heads. And they're trying to do the best that they can, especially in healthcare, right? We're trying to do the best that we can. And there are days that we're exhausted, and people think you don't want to be snappy at anyone, but it's a possibility that nurse did not take a break, or that person did not take a break when they were supposed to, whether it was a bathroom break or a snack break. We're humans, we have feelings too. And so things do happen. And also we have, especially if you are in healthcare, no worries, I'm used to this time, security officer. Well, lady, okay. All right. So you help to keep people safe. And so we pray that you have an amazing, amazing day. Thank you for listening in. I know there are going to be some people on the replay for this. And that's why I'm saying, one of the things too, we really have to take care of ourselves. Because if we don't, who's going to advocate for you? You have to first advocate for yourself, and then you can advocate for others. I am at the point right now where I'm putting me first, emotionally, mentally, physically, financially, in every which way. Because there's so many of us who have put others before us because we really want them to do well. We really want things to go smoothly. But then it comes back at you and it ends up hurting you emotionally, mentally, physically, financially. So it's like a mirror image, it's like what? It's a mirror image. It comes back at you. And so even with those of you who are out there who are working, you want to do the best thing that you can. Sometimes you feel that I may have to do this thing. I may have to go against the grain a little bit, but then it can come back to you in like this particular case. Well, did you follow the rules, policies and procedures? Follow that. And then that's what happened. And like I said, just talking about a healthcare worker who chose to move a patient, whether she did it by herself. The lift that she was using broke and fell, and maybe the patient hit themselves against the base. Usually that is metallic unless they've changed them. But for whatever reason, that happened. And this was a care worker. And so that's why I'm talking about it. There was also another episode of a young woman who's a nurse. I think they said she's a nurse, and she was on her way to work, and she was abducted, and later on she, once again, she was unalive. And those things are hurtful. And to know people are every day putting themselves on the line. And that's why we talk about it in all capacities of how you work, that it's, or wherever you work, that it's okay. It's not just okay. It's important that we take care of each other. We speak to each other with kindness, and just be patient. Be patient and know that sometimes you may not get what you want, because we see so many things, not just health workers. We're seeing people spazzing out. What do they call it now? They're crashing out in the Kentucky Fried Chicken or the KFC or McDonald's or whatever place, and they're just going nuts. I don't know what's happening. It's like, is there something in the water? So people who are getting up every day, going to work, knowing that at any time I could be working anywhere and something happens, right? Whether it's from a or whether it's from a client or a customer. And so, because I'm on the topic of healthcare workers, like I said, those things happen. When you work the emergency room, a lot of things happen, things that you don't expect. you know, that you would never expect people to treat you that way. But, it happens, and it's part of the job. But I don't think that people deserve to be treated badly because of their jobs. Even as a security worker, I don't feel that you should be treated badly. Many times too, I will always say when it comes to healthcare workers, and we have family members who come in, there we go. We have family members who come in. I would say be patient. Be patient, be nice, be patient, because you never know. And sometimes too, you yourself as healthcare workers, if you only know sometimes behind the scene, the amount of things and the responsibilities, and if you say anything, it will seem as if you are complaining, and you don't want to complain. You don't want to complain. However, when family comes in, if you can do something to help your loved one, and you ask the nurse, well, can she have some water? Get the water. Can I bring the phone closer? Anything that I can do? She wants some socks. Can I get some socks? Is it okay if I put them on? Little things like that. Yeah, that's the thing, Kenny, when we work and that's dealing with the public. You when you come in, you may understand what that nurse might not have had a break, might not have gone to the bathroom. 12-hour shifts. The majority work 8 or 12-hour shifts. And there are lots of responsibilities from every lab. We need to know them. And if those labs are off, if anything needs to be replaced, and if it's not replaced within a couple of hours, it could end up being tragic. Okay, I'm just telling you the truth. So there's so many responsibilities. People are not just sitting there charting. Sometimes too, as a healthcare worker, people will come in and think, oh, you're only sitting there charting or you're chatting. Sometimes you're looking at that lab value. Sometimes you want to find out. I'm not saying none of that stuff happens, but the majority of the times you're trying to find labs, you're trying to find medications, you want to make sure it's up to date. Sometimes the information or even the allergies are not correct. And so there are lots, in other words, I'm saying there are lots of things that's happening as a healthcare worker that can be overwhelming for some to be like, oh my gosh, how do you guys do it? But, we do it. It happens. And like I said, I'm not here to point fingers. I'm not here to say anything badly about anyone or any institution or organization, because things do happen. And if I don't have all of the as we would say, the back end, if I don't have all of the nitty gritty, is that what you say? If I don't have all the information, I would not be in. Hey, Regina Michelle, how are you? So good to see you, girl. I'm following you over there on TikTok. I was like, she got this down packed. OMG. Listen, you got this thing going. You got YouTube. Are you on Instagram also? But I see you working that TikTok and the TikTok shop. Like that outfit that you had on. Casey Inspirational Tales. Hey, good to see you. How are you doing? Oh my goodness, I'm talking about healthcare and how it affects all of us. Yes, the thumbs up. Thank you so much. How healthcare affects all of us. I've been trying to keep the lives for half hour because I'm going to go to bed earlier. I'll talk a little bit more about that. I've been doing the 75 hard challenge and working out twice a day, just 45 minutes, whether it's walking or my bike. I'm just moving and I'm eating. I'm doing the intermittent fasting. And it seems like I'm eating one meal a day based on how I do things. Yeah, so I'm doing well and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. This morning I did And since we've been talking about self-care also, this morning I walked for about 20 minutes on the treadmill. Usually I like to do 12 minutes to warm up, but I went over, so I did 20 minutes. And then I did upper body with weights. I had 8 pounds and I think 15 pounds or something like that, maybe 12. And so I did upper body. And then I was like, you know what? I still had some time left over. And so I did the Peloton with, what's his name? Alex Toussaint, I think that's his name. I did it with him on Peloton. So that felt good. And it feels good for me. It just feels good because I'm very flexible with my schedule. But the thing is, my sleep, I'm trying to get the sleep in. That's my biggest thing, trying to get the sleep. And working out too, sometimes will make you sleep like a baby. I just take a nice shower with lavender and I'm trying to sleep like twisting, tossing, turning. And yeah, so that's that. But I think, not just healthcare workers, all of us, we do need to take care of ourselves. One of the things I said, for those of you, if you just came on and you may want to listen, I know you may not have a lot of time, but I'm saying that one needs to really be concerned about healthcare. And I always say the best thing you can do is to ask questions. Definitely ask questions when you go in. And you may want to know what questions to ask in advance. I just learned this thing from Chat GPT. Like, if there's something that they told you that, okay, this is what's going on, Chat GPT is like, you could put it in there and say to them, okay, what questions should I be asking my doctor since they told me this? I don't know if the doctors are going to like that or your provider, but those are some of the things you need to do. Yeah, soursop leaf would help with that. Yes, I have some soursop leaf because I have some soursop tea and let me see what I got. Was this the green tea I asked for? Hey, can I get the soursop? And the soursop had me yawning during the day. I'm like, what's going on? It calms the nerves, it calms the nerves. But you as someone with healthcare, yes, there are questions you're going to want to ask your provider. Make sure you find out. Also, make sure that you find out about any new medications that you're taking. I'm not giving medical advice, but I'm going to tell folks, make sure you know about certain medications and the side effects, because certain meds that we, people of color, seem to have a huge reaction to them, and don't want to alarm anybody. Sometimes even if you've been taking them for a while, so it's really important that some of those things and what's happening, and especially when you're in the hospital or anywhere, it's okay to ask nicely about the medications that are being given. And I always make certain, I've never gotten offended. I always make certain that I would know the types of medications and what they're for when I'm going into a patient's room. And I'm going to tell you why. See you later. Let me start my work now, almost on the premises. Thank you so much. Be safe. Have an amazing day, and I'll stop by later. Thank you so much. And I say this, guys, it's great to ask questions. We saw that other nurse who was given medication while she was online, while she was talking to everybody, and she made a med error. She made a medication error. She said, oh my God. When she found out she made a med error, she went back into the patient's room and she came out and she was like, oh, that was just a lidocaine patch. Hello, that's a medication. And maybe I think the patient was only supposed to have that once a day. I can't rejoice from any of that because med errors, they do happen, okay? These things do happen. And I'm not rejoicing for any mistakes that has been made, any patient that was hurt. But I'm saying even as healthcare workers, we have a lot of responsibilities and it can seem overwhelming at times. But I also feel that you as the patient, the recipient of the care, you can ask questions. Don't ever feel like you can't. It doesn't matter how busy that doctor may seem. And I will always say to people, be nice to healthcare workers or anyone that's working with the public, because the it takes a lot, especially these days. I'm telling you, mental health is real. There's some people, they're just this much away from snapping, and people will say, well, if it's not for you, you should leave, or you take a break, or you take a vacation. And it's very, I'm here to tell you, it's not easy. There's some moments too, my nurses out there, we've talked about it, where we've just spent times in our car, we're just crying because can't believe the type of day that we had. But you, as that person, should definitely, like I said, the recipient, ask questions, do a little research. Especially if you have a loved one and something else is going on with them, do a little research. There's nothing with that. I've been doing these half hours, and the views have been kind of low. And I'm like, do I leave it? Do I leave it half hour, or do I push it? Or do I try to get my, thank you, Casey. I know you go in your bed. Casey probably falling asleep. I don't know how Casey does those lives. How long are your lives? Like 2.5 hours? Casey's like, she'll do the whole thing. I'm like, girl, I can't. I mean, I used to love doing them. But when I get that dedicated computer to do all the footage that I have, so many footage, Dominica, Japan, Jamaica, my goodness, Florida. I think I was in Maryland, Washington. Your girl have a lot of footage. So I would be, yeah, I'll be able to do that. Don't worry. So you guys are not gonna see me on live. They're gonna like, we're sharing. They're gonna see the video. Today I was watching Ellen. I had some other stuff to do, so I had on Ellen Smiles. You have a playlist there, Casey? I had Ellen Smile, The Road to 4K. But I always watch you guys and just let the ad, because like I said, I'm doing things. I can work from home. I can work from my office. I do have some flexibility. But even healthcare has changed, and a lot of people are pivoting. They're pivoting because some people say, well, there's just too much liability. And why have so many nurses quit? They'll tell you that they're tired. They want to quit and go work at Starbucks, or maybe at Nordstrom or somewhere, or do something else. Because too, the mental part of it, and it's being a health worker, it's a lot of physical work. It's a lot of physical work. It's physical work for me, like emergency room and ICU, and it's physical, so you will feel it in your back. It's rather demanding, yes. And for me, the mental part of it, for me, I love being busy. So that's why I work between, and not everybody, may be able to do that, but I work between the ICU, and that's where I worked, and who knows if I go back into it, right? Between the ICU and the emergency room. And the emergency room is fast paced. And especially if you work in a trauma or where it's continuous, you have to think fast. And when you work in critical care, you have to be able to think on a critical level. It's like you're how many steps ahead. And that's hard too. Healthcare workers, we'll tell you that. Sometimes our family members, they can't stand us. Because you call and ask us questions and we can't diagnose. We're not going to diagnose you. I'm staying within my scope, okay? I'm a nurse. I'm not an NP. I'm not a physician. I'm not a nurse practitioner. I'm not a physician. I'm staying within the scope of what I know how to do, And I had somebody who told me once, he said, what kind of nurse are you? Man dropped down the step, man shoulder hurt them. It was a friend of mine said, man shoulder hurt them. A man just want to take some Motrin and you can't tell me to take a Motrin. No, I'm not going to go tell you to go pop some Motrin. And it wasn't even prescribed to him. It was somebody else's Motrin. And I said, you really need to go get that checked out. You really need to go see a doctor. I cannot tell you what medication to go and take, you know. And if you're popping, and that's the thing, if you're popping all these different types of meds, before you know it, you may have, probably not even supposed to take them. Next thing, you may have other issues, bleeding and other things like that I could go on and on. But I tell people, so even healthcare workers on the job, in the job, or off the job, you're going to find out that people will ask you all sorts of things, and you do the best that you can. But you still, and you got to protect yourself, because this healthcare worker, this CNA who lifted that patient out of the chair, patient fell, patient passed, right? And now is being held responsible legally at a level that it could cost her her freedom. It is that serious. And so, yes, you want to do the best that you can in and outside of the hospital. You know, these things do happen inside and outside of it. So you definitely want to make sure that before you make any decisions, oh yeah, it is serious. Before you make any decisions. So that's why I'm not quick to tell anybody, go take this, go take that. But there's some things that I would say, you know what, you do need to go see a doctor. Someone came on Facebook, and people will make these big announcements, and I don't know if she comes over here and but anyways, somebody went in and said, oh, I fell and I hit my head and it hurts, and put that on Facebook. So me now as a nurse see something like that. Like, what? So I looked, that was like how many hours ago? So I inboxed the person and I said, you should at least call your doctor, and possibly they may want you to get it checked out. So I have to be careful with what I said, and I didn't want to be reckless, nor did I want to go, you know, on Facebook and say I'm telling anyone what to do. Or sometimes too, you may comment and somebody said, well, you're a nurse, you could have done this and that. And I'm like, wow, I'm just seeing this. And so I inboxed the person and they answered me back, no, they don't think they should. They're fine. But at least I know I said what I said. But they did eventually call their provider. And supposedly the provider said they don't need to go in. But the thing too, if you are on a blood thinner and you fall and you hit your head, that's a whole nother bowl of wax, okay? So I'm not there to like ask all of these questions. And that's why would I say call your provider? Because they may know what kind of medication you're on. Nesula. They may know what kind of medication that you are on. And so if you fell and you hurt yourself or something happened, definitely check them out. There's certain things too. There's some people on certain medications, even if it's some psych meds, or I don't know if you can really say they're psych meds, but there's certain fruits that you can't eat. And you got to know when to pace things out, or medications when you know things when they will kick in. I saw a clip. Who saw that clip? I think was it a Breakfast Club? Where Gucci Mane and his wife, Keisha, she was talking about, I don't know, it helped Wendy or somebody, allegedly. I miss Wendy. I miss her. God. You know, yeah, I miss Wendy. But anyway, she was talking about her husband and his medical condition, and how she really makes sure that he takes care of himself, and she makes sure that he takes his medication. And I want to go back and watch it to see if it was some psychological thing that was going on with him. And she, sometimes he will call people who will say things. And she's like, listen, I have to make sure he's taking his meds and how long that it takes to kick in and certain things that he'll say to me. So even if you're not a healthcare worker, but you are taking care of a loved one, that's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of responsibility to make sure that person takes the medication, to make sure that the medication is in a safe place, that they don't take more than they should, right? And then how that medication is kept. Sometimes some medications need to be refrigerated. And you need to make sure certain things are at a certain level. So I'm not just saying healthcare workers are it's just us. They're also family members. And that's why when I say healthcare is in big trouble and that we really need to be concerned, because at time you may be that caregiver. You may be that person who needs to be educated on a few things. I had a conversation with a friend. She's also a healthcare worker, but she works in case management. She said the hardest part of it is just really trying to educate people. Sometimes they just may not want to. And it's not that they may not want to, they may not be feeling well, and they may have aches and pains. And so they don't want you always talking at them or to them, but they want to talk to you. So she said, I spend most of my time just really listening to them, because a lot of people who are in the healthcare system are caught up. They're home. We would call them the shut in. At church, we would say, oh, they're shut in. And sometimes they just want to talk to you. Some of you may know in my other that I would say I'm a radio jock, because people would say, oh, you do what? You sing? No, I've done radio how many years? And I did night radio. And guys, it was only once a week, just in case you're wondering, from 1:15 a.m. to 6 a.m. So it would be a Wednesday going into a Thursday. And I did that for many years, maybe more than 10 years on that station. And let me tell you the things. Like I said, nurses were listening, cab drivers, cops, security guards, people who, would come in and they're prepping and they're doing all sorts of things. They would listen to me. People in the jails, they would listen. They would send letters to the radio station. Yes, darling. And also the listeners themselves. And I would get a lot of listeners. My genre was Caribbean and world gospel music. So that's what I played. And certain music I would play it, my phone would ring. And because they're lonely and they really want to talk to you. So sometimes I would put on I would do a mix. I would do it's a live mix with my name, my voice and everything. And it was a tape and I'm just running it for half hour, because I know, how come you're talking and talking to me? I said, don't worry about it. And then they'll just want to talk. Sometimes they get rather lonely. So it's like I'm always a nurse. I'm always just showing up, even on the airplanes. You guys want to hear about this story on the airplane? Like every time, I don't know, but it happens. Some people say, if they call you, if you're on an airplane and they call you, would you get up? Well, sometimes there are other people who do get up. But I remember going to my aunt's funeral and it happened there. I remember going on vacation. It happened. I remember coming back home. Sula's like, yes, tell us. Coming back, it happened. And, all sorts of things. So you're always, if you're a caring, loving person. So how do we all start talking about this? Because you go above and beyond. Now, you guys have heard about the Good Samaritan law. I don't know how much I believe that the law. Because some people too may not even want to, I'll tell you this much, they may not even want to stop and help someone. And let me tell you too, another thing, I am watching these things here on the internet, And I don't know what to believe. I really do not know what to believe, what is real and what isn't, because of the AI. I don't know what's real, what isn't. And so sometimes too, people are being careful. Yes, you would have to be careful how you stop and help someone. Yes, you want to make sure that if anything, you could call for help. So these are some of the things, like I said, care workers, they do, there's a part of us where we always want to show up. We always want to give. We always want to help. But we also have to think about the legalities. We also have to think about, is this the right thing to do at this particular time? Because if you need help to transfer a patient and you're choosing to do that by yourself, it can be disastrous. But there are ways that you could do, because many nurses, especially in critical care, when our patients are intubated and they have every wire and we would say wire, right? People, layman terms, would say, oh my God, all those things that's on them, they're hooked up to so many things. And how do you get the beds? And there's certain ways of doing that. And if the patient can move, it helps you. So I'm going to give some tips on how you can protect yourself, okay? Whether you're in healthcare or not. And there's a thing too that we talk about, it's the privacy. You want to make sure that you are definitely holding other people's private life, and you don't come out here and telling everybody what's going on. Here in the States, it's called HIPAA. And HIPAA, it's the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. It's a U.S. law that sets national standards for protecting sensitive patient health information, known as Protected Health Information, PHI. The law provides individuals with the rights to health information and places strict rules on how covered entities like healthcare providers and health plans must handle and protect that data. So there are lots of things, policies and procedures. This HIPAA law, and if you keep asking what HIPAA is, I'll say Google it, because or Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Yes, they're serious with HIPAA. And so you don't go out and say anything to anyone. That's why after a while, when, we used to have charts, they would start putting the names on the charts. And I remember, oh my gosh, this was in the 90s. Can I age myself? I went in a room, I was working the night shift. I went in a room to take care of a patient. And when I introduced myself, I noticed, I felt the lady was like, so she looked at me and she said, you're a nurse? Because they only thought, and the thing is, I never mixed the two. A lot of people only knew me from radio, actually. They only knew me from that. They never knew me as a nurse. And so, because it was just my life, I kept my life private. They knew very little about me, and that was fine. And they were shocked. They were shocked, shock. Because I'm going to say this too, as healthcare workers, and some will pop onto this and they will tell you the truth, that there's some folks they don't have the best intention. They don't have the best intention. Some people will walk in, and many of you have your jobs. You read between the line. It's, yes, the slide, this thing here. Okay, let's see if this will go. I'm going to tell you this. There are some people who have other intentions, and I think I kind of messed that up because they seem to have known me through another medium, and whatever they had up their sleeve, which later on, that was none of my business. I don't know you. I don't have nothing to say to anybody. Don't try to test me. Don't ask me anything about what I do outside of here. And I never had that conversation with anyone because That's my life privately, and don't mix me with nothing unless they call me to court, okay? It didn't happen because it couldn't hold water. Read between the lines on that one. So healthcare workers, we have a lot of responsibilities, a lot of legalities around how we do things. You may be that person, you may have that heart to give. You are that giver, that nurturer. That person is so compassionate. And a lot of us, including myself, we've been hurt by that because we're just givers, and will take. There are some people, they will just take. There's no end to their taking. So that's why I talk a lot around about boundaries, because I had to learn to set boundaries, healthy boundaries in my personal, in my professional life, and in the things that I do. So I'm just hoping this will stay charged because it's running down. So yes, with the HIPAA law, if somebody comes in, and also, like I said, how you take it. If it's your next door neighbor, I'm not telling you anything. You know, I can't do that. You know, sometimes people will, once somebody very inappropriate asked me an inappropriate question, say, oh, somebody saw you at a place and she didn't know you're a nurse, and started to ask me about that person. I said, I'm not even that person's nurse. And even if I were, there's no information I would be able to share with you. Do you know people will push? People will push. They will push to ask you. And some of us have taken care of, like you have celebrities or famous people. They're people like everybody else, you know, and it's none of my business. Go ahead, get ready for work, Nasula, Nasula. People are nosy. They do want to know other people's business, and that's not my place to say. So you have what they call famous people, or where I worked at one place, we, you know, some people want to come up to the penthouse. You also in healthcare, before I go, some of the things that happen as a healthcare worker, you could walk into a room and a patient would say, I don't want you as a nurse, or I don't want you as a doctor. Why? Could be because of the color of your skin. And it happens. It happens so often in nursing and people in healthcare. You know, they will tell you, get me another nurse, or get me and you could be the same complexion. And they say, give me, I had one lady said, give me the, I want the white doctor. And she had one of the coolest docs. Oh my God, I loved working with him. He's just so cool. If I describe him, some say, I know that doctor, but he is one of the coolest docs for, you know, and then I saw why she was acting that way. But, you know, you get people like that. You get some people who are entitled, some people who are very rude, and there's some people who will tell you, no, I want somebody else. And then the somebody else they get in will be like, there's sometimes, you know, your colleagues, believe it or not, your colleagues will stand up for you like, this is a nurse. There's one time, though, I didn't want them to stand up for me. There was a gentleman who came in, and like I said, it was many years ago, and all I can do is give you a little synopsis. A person was just having a breakdown. He was in a some place, and they found him hiding there. And he came in yelling and screaming that he was going to get all Haitians. He was going to get all Haitians. And so that nurse, I still remember the night, decided to say, oh, we're going to send him back there to Anderson. That's how we talk. We're going to send him back there to me. So I said to him, when he's giving me report, oh, they found him. He was hiding behind a tree in a department store. And he said he's going to alive all Haitians. And I said, why are you sending him over here to me? I'm Jamaican. He may just want to, you know what he told me? He said, nah, you're Jamaican. He just say Haitian. I said, that was not even fun. And he was serious. He was serious that I should take the patient. The patient didn't want anybody who looked like me. And I don't need you standing me up for this. And plus he belongs up front because that's the room that they have for it. Yeah, he was said, the guy was like, I'm taking out all Asian, I'm taking, and you send me the Jamaican. Let me get my flag. Regina Michelle, let me get my flag. You know, I'm big with my Jamaican flag. You giving me the person who want to take a. By then, he wouldn't have known the difference. Get ready to go, folks. You know, I'm at church here. Oh, we got to talk about the pastor, too. You know, so as a healthcare worker, I have to worry about somebody trying to take somebody out with an accent. And, you know, Jamaican, get something on, wave. That's the one time I wasn't going to wave nothing. Because, bro, was ready to take all Haitians out. And Haiti is close enough to Jamaica for me. And they can't tell the difference. So it was like, after a while, I was like, man, come on. That don't make no sense. Why are you doing this? And he finally said, all right. And he talks like that. All right, you know what? I said, yeah, the psych room, isn't it available there? Give me whatever else. Give me all the train wrecks, as we would call them. Just give me all of that. You know, I don't care. So sometimes too, you have to advocate for yourself. Healthcare workers, for those of you who are going to be watching this, you're watching this, you have to advocate for yourself. You also have to know one of the things too. Do you know that we can be put up on charges if we go in and say we're refusing an assignment, but only if you've taken report. They can report you. So it's not just me putting on scrubs. That's why when I see on TikTok all the little cute dancing, you know, with them little what was it? The mugs, the big mugs, and they dancing and ooh ooh ooh, and we're going to Mexico and this and that. Nursing ain't about that, baby. Every day you walk into that place, something is on the line, and you have to be. That's why I would only go to work because when I'm tired, I need a mental health day. That's it. And I have to prepare myself because I could go into work. And I tell you guys, I went into work. I'll never forget this morning. And lots of them you don't forget. And before lunchtime, and I kind of wrote something about it in a way, in a poetic kind of way. I can't remember. But I had from someone coming in, a life that was gone, and even one that came in that could have been. Read between the lines on that. And so, and that was before lunch. And then you will have all sorts of things, an asthmatic, it could be a heart attack, it could be a stroke, and it's boom, 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 boom. And one has to be built for that. So this is not about dancing with scrubs and all. That's why so many new healthcare workers are quitting. They're quitting because they're not built for this. So what can we do in the meantime? I always admire the nurses who are out here, other healthcare workers, whatever field you're in, whether it's the MRI, CAT scan, and the different things that you do, and nursing and medicine, right? It's that we can truly support those who are coming up. We want to support those who do want to do this because it's not for everyone. And then you have to know when to bow out gracefully. One has to know when to bow out gracefully, like enough is enough. So yes, healthcare it's not perfect. There's so many things that we can do by taking care of ourselves. We can also, like I said, take care of each other, to ask questions that when it comes to your health and your wellness, when it comes to anything that doctors will tell you, maybe you may need a second, what is it called? A second opinion. Maybe you need that, right? So whatever it is that it may be, come as it may, as they would say. Let me see how this goes. Come as it may, you may just want to take a few things that I have to say to you, and hopefully that it will truly help you and help your loved ones, guys. Some are, I can look back at it now and I can laugh and say, that was just ridiculous back then. But in the midst of it, when you are going through anything, In the midst of it, it's not funny. In the midst of it, it could make you, you know, it could make you cry. And a lot of times too, because to decompress, a lot of times you would find us somewhere. Just give me a moment in the med room somewhere. I just need to decompress, and that happens. Guys, thank you for coming in. Don't forget to double tap the screen. Thank you for any thumbs up that you've done. For those of you who are thinking about a membership on our channel, definitely check us out. We have some great behind the scenes stuff that we are sharing. We also have our stars and superstars where I do a lot of stuff on health. So they're going to be on some, what do you call them? I'm doing some webinars and some workshops. And actually I'm going to, so I'll be able to share with those of my members. And it's stuff that I talk about out here, but not everybody wants to be bombarded with it. So it will be in the membership for those. We have the star and the superstar. We do talk about business and being able to open and run a brick and mortar and even to run your business virtually. Those things too are going to be important because of what's happening and how things are changing. One of the things I'll even say is that even when you are a healthcare or an individual who decided to start your own business, I'm going to tell you it's not easy. You are going to have good days and bad days and some really good days. And then you're going to have some periods where it's like, oh my God. And what is this thing about 9 out of 10 businesses fail? Well, baby, are you telling me I need to start 10? Because each time one of them one will succeed, but it's going to require you to be consistent. It also requires you to take care of yourself, because even as a healthcare worker, let's say some people who are walking away, or they're pivoting, let's say they're pivoting away from what they're now doing, they can turn it into their own business, whether it's their private practice, their private concierge, their consultant business, or they could partner with someone else. There's so many things that you can do with your gifting and your skills. And like I said, I'm speaking to healthcare workers because that's what I know and what I've done and how I've been supported with that. But you can even take what you already know and turn it into something else. One of the big things too, people are talking about, I need a business plan, I need all of these things. Yeah, but you also going to have to write yourself into your plan. How are you planning on taking care of you? When things get rough, right? When you feel overwhelmed, are you going to be willing, ready, and able to take care of you? And what are some of the things that you're going to do? When it comes to the personal and the professional side of things, the personal and professional development, you definitely are going to need that. You're definitely going to need to invest back into yourself, invest in you, because you are worth it. In order to take what you know to the next level, you're definitely going to need to do it, because if not, you're just going to stay the same place. I was watching this guy who he does a lot of interviews. He said, I became a millionaire interviewing billionaires, which is true. And they said, well, how did you get these millionaires to speak to you? He said, I had to build what I have. He said, I had to build it. And then he has the social proof to show that he has millions of followers or hundreds of thousands of followers. And then now, it started to show. So he had to do the work. So in anything that you do, know that you have to do the work. Make a decision to show up. But I'm going to tell you guys, give grace to yourself, because it does happen. You are going to fall in periods of slump, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, every which way that you can think. But then if you have a good community or mastermind or of other like-minded individuals, because your family may not understand, it will just be other entrepreneurs who definitely understand what we're all going through. So if you're a healthcare worker out there, I'm going to say take care of you. Follow the rules, the policies, and the procedures. There are things that you may want to do on your own, but I will say that at the end of the day, they're going to come back and say, here are the rules. Did you follow them? Take care of you. Seek help when you need it, whether turn a patient, move a patient, whatever it is that you need to do. I am just saying, take care of you. Put you first, because at the end of the day, it's going to come right back to you. All right, beautiful people, it's been good. It's been great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. There's a link for membership. Hey. Or is that just our channel? But I'm grateful. I'm glad that you all decided to stay with me and show up. And so, you know what? It is what it is. All right, beautiful people. Until next time, take care. Bye bye.